Okay, so I've got it set up, pretending that, I was coming off of the top part of the sock there and going on to the heel there. But again, this is just a sample. So I'm going to kind of go row by row. I wrote out all my instructions here basically, so that I'm just going to follow line by line because my memory is terrible, and knowing me, I will definitely forget something. So it says basically, when I get to the point where I want to start my heel, I need to stop at the 6 o'clock position, which I have. I need to engage the heel spring, which up at the top I have pulled down. It's kind of like for me is a little wire with a hook, and then I'm hooking onto my thread, which makes this taut. Okay. It says to lift all the needles in the back half of the cylinder except the needle just before the 3 o'clock position and just before the 9 o'clock position. Okay. Before completing the row and going to the 12 o'clock position. Okay, so basically now I've got them all done. I am now going to go to the end there. Okay, so now to actually start the decreasing part of the heel, it says lift one needle on the right, the one that's before 3 p.m. Okay, and basically we are going to put a stitch marker on it. Okay, all right. And then basically we are going to go to the other side and slowly move the carry to the other side, and we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Now, in order for me, before I put a stitch marker on this one here, I don't want to have a hole at the actual juncture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one here that I just put up. I'm just going to put it a little lower to make it easier to manage. Okay. And I'm going to take this thread, this yarn, and just quite literally, no, hold on. I'm going to do that. Hold on. Sorry. There we go. Actually, it already is behind it there, so I'm fine. Okay. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to the other side, repeat it to the other side. Did I put my stitch marker? No, I did not. Let's try and do that. You can see how wonderful I am at following in my own instructions. Okay. So now I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to the other side. Okay. And same thing. I'm going to pull this guy up. Okay, and I want to make sure, and there we go. Okay, so then we're going to put this guy, is he there? Yeah, he is behind there. Okay, all right. So I'll make sure here, does it look like it's going behind? It does look like it's going behind. Okay. Oh, I need to put my stitch marker on that one. Okay, cool. All right. Then I'm going to go back onto the other side. Now, generally speaking, you got to first of all make sure that these little arms, they need to obviously be down. If they're not down, you're going to end up slipping a stitch. Okay. This is the one for me, and the same thing on this side, that's most likely to drop a stitch if I'm not careful and if I do not have the proper tension on it. Okay, so that's where your heel forks, or in my case, I've got the sweet spot that I got from Chambord CSM. Either of those basically will help with the tension, because right now there's really, these ones are out of work, but they've got, all of these ones here have the actual buckle weight on it. These ones here are not going to, as we make that pocket, they will not have any weight once that pocket starts to get done. Right now I can feel tension, but that tension is going to go fairly quickly. Okay. So it says, when the yarn starts to lift on the needles, it is time to add the heel forks. As you decrease, adjust the heel forks when you see the yarn rising. So we're going to wash this yarn here. And as I'm bringing it around, it might go up, but it should come right back down. If it's going up and it's staying up, there's a problem, because it means, okay, now there's not enough tension to pull it down, and at some point it's going to come over the hook, and we're going to end up with a drop stitch, which we don't want. Okay, I'm the queen of drop stitches, and I do not like the title whatsoever. Okay, so we're going to basically, I don't think I need the heel fork just or the sweet spot just yet, so I'm going to continue going. I'm going to lift one at a time on each side, going back and forth until that happens. Okay, so I'm going to do this one here. All right. There we go. All right, and then we've got, and just make sure that it catches. Okay, so I go slowly on the ends, okay, to make sure that it is catching. All right, I'm going to check on this side here, make sure that it is catching. Yeah, Then I can go a little bit faster on this side. And I'm just sometimes just putting it down myself. It's not to the point where I need to actually change to the actual heel weights. It's, you know, it's still okay. I want it, you know, this one, these end ones sometimes will lift, so I do tend to do that, but I'm looking at the other ones as well. Okay, so let's continue on here. I gotta be very quiet, and I never quiet, otherwise I'm gonna screw up. Okay, so this is starting to do this. Okay, so that worries me a little bit. So I think, and same thing on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, okay, the tension, my sweet spot in, okay? And the sweet spot, basically, when you put it in, okay, for me, basically, I'm going from underneath. It has to hook, and I'm trying to hook it in such a place that when it pulls down with the weight, it's pulling all the way up to this guy on this side and this guy on this side, that it's pulling down and giving that downward pressure so that it will not obviously drop a stitch, okay? I usually start a little bit closer to the top because it's going to go down. Okay, it doesn't have to be very close to the top, but I'm looking, I don't know, maybe like 6 lines from the top. But again, it's a matter of getting it in such a way. And of course, these are so sharp that they keep getting stuck on my yarn, which I find irritating. So if somebody has a trick, that would be wonderful. Okay, so let me put that up inside. I'm going to start putting that in. Okay, let's see here. I got one on that side and one on this side. Okay, so I'm going to put the weight on and see what it does. No, it's not doing anything. It's too low. So I think I need to come in a little bit more. Oh. Okay, so let me a little bit higher. Let's see. I think this one on this side looks good. This one I think is a little bit too close in. I think I need this one to go a little bit further out. Ah. There. And let's see here. I find it always somehow goes right through the yarn, which is such a pain because it doesn't want to go through a proper hole in the yarn. Okay, it must be the way I put it in. I can't imagine everybody else has this issue. Everybody is always saying how wonderful the sweet spot is. Okay. Okay, let's see here if I put the, oh, and of course it didn't fit. Okay, so let's try that. Put the weight. Okay, so it's definitely pulling down here for sure. Okay, and it is stiffer here. All right, so I'm going to continue on. And at some point, obviously, as we get closer and closer, this is going to be pulled down, getting pulled down when it no longer needs to because they're out of work. Okay, so I may have to again adjust. I find that I adjust the sweet spot quite a bit because I'm still not quite an expert at it. I'm still, you know, learning as I go along. Now, of course, I talked, and of course, I can't remember whether I put the last needle up or down. And if you forget and you do it more than once or not enough, you're going to have a hole. So I'm going to check on this side here. I've got 1, 2 on this side. So basically, if I'm going back, I should be having 2 on the other side, and I only have 1. So that means I did not raise it. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to make sure that it catches, and it did. Cool. Okay. And I'm just going to keep going for a while. Okay, so we got here, what is this? This is 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, so this is 3. Okay. 4. 4. Ooh. 4. Okay, something's not right there. Okay, there's something so this one doesn't look like it got picked up. Okay, so sometimes it gets stuck, I find, on the top of the hook, and I always push it. Sometimes I push it the right way and it works, and sometimes I push it the wrong way and it just doesn't work. So got a bit of a problem here because I have to do things backwards here. So I'm going to pull that up. I got to do it the other way. And I'm having a hard time here. Okay, so there. Okay. All right. So I want it so that the hoop is basically got the hook. This thread has to be the little arm thing. It's got to be between that so that when I pull it, it's going to go through. Try not to make a mess of everything I've done. Okay. There we go. All right. And then this is what I need to go over. Oh. Okay. Oh, what a pain. Okay. I don't know if you saw any of that. And I apologize if you didn't. Okay. All right. So now, okay, again, I've lost count. What the heck am I here? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to put this one up. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange my heel forks again because they're finding they're starting to rise up a little bit. And I can come in a little bit more because obviously, there we go, because I've come in several needles more as well. So let's check. I've got it's pulling here, it's bouncy here, and it's pulling here. So, okay. All right, so, and I did it again. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I did not lift 5. Okay. Okay, I've got 6, 6, and 6. Okay, so let's continue reading our instructions so we don't screw up here. It says continue lifting 1 needle per side until you reach the last 2 needles before the heel marker. So I've got needle 1, needle 2, so I've got 1 more I've got to do. So let's do that. So boom. Okay, let's get to that point. Cool. And then I've got this one here. Cool. Yeah, did it again. There we go. You want to push it towards the back, not the front. Push it towards the back when it gets stuck on top of the needle. Okay, so we got the last 2 needles. So what was the instruction? It says lift the last 2 needles before the heel marker if you wish for a more rounded toe or heel. Okay, so if you want a more angular, kind of like a straight across, an angular type of toe, you don't need to do that, obviously. You just go straight to the heel marker. I prefer a more rounded toe. So I'm going to lift the last 2 on this side here. All right, make sure it catches. All right, and I'm going to do the exact same thing with these 2 over here. Oh, it looks like this one skipped one as well, so give me a second here. Oh, I'll do it again. Maybe you might have a better chance of seeing it on this side, I don't know. Okay, so we need to go through. I can actually see because the stitches are so small. Okay, so I put it through the hook. I want to make sure, though, that this arm thing, there we go, the arm thing here, okay, oh, no, did not. Okay, so that arm thing allows for that loose thread to be there. That way it's going to pull, okay, right through. Okay, and then I can put it, there we go, and it's done. Okay, I don't know if you saw that one any better. Okay, so, oh man. I did those 2 there. I did not do those 2 there, so I need to do that. Okay. Catching. Yes, it did. Okay, cool. All right, so then it says readjust your heel forks in the areas for the needles that are left in work. So I'm going to do that again because it looks like they're starting to lift again. I need to be a little bit closer here, a little bit more up. All right, so I'm going to do that. cool. I'm going to feel, yeah, it's tight here, and it's tight where the needles are. Okay, so now I'm going to increase for the heel or the toe, depending on what you're doing, because they are the same thing. So it says lower the first 2 needles on the right-hand side, just like we just lifted them, so we're going to lower them this time. You may not want to lower them all the way because, again, you want to make sure the latch stays down. Otherwise, you may end up having a drop stitch, and you're going to repeat on the left side. So when I put these 2 down, okay, see, if I put them all the way down, it closes up or it sticks out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it just low enough that it stays down there, and when I'm going across, I'm going to make sure that it does catch, okay? Does it catch both? Yes, it does. Okay? And then basically I need to put these 2 down. And again, I'm going to put these 2 down so that the needles stay downwards. Oop, downwards still. I'm going to come back. All right, so make sure that they catch. Yes, they did. Okay? Now basically I'm going to lower 1 needle at a time until I get closer to the 3 o'clock mark. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to try and stay quiet this time. Okay, so there, I'm going to put this one down. Okay, so let me continue reading the next instruction because I am getting closer to the 3 and 9 o'clock mark. So what's the next instruction? It says, it says lower the second last needle on the left side. So we've got a few to go before we get there, so I'm not going to worry too much. So let's keep going down. So lower the second hand needle, oops, the second last needle, okay, on the left side, okay, the one that's right before, right before the stitch marker. Okay, never mind. Hold on. Oh, actually, this one still needs to go down. We're not there yet. Okay, so hold on. Let's catch this one. Cool. Okay. I'm going to go down. Alright. Oop. It's too low. So see what happened there? So I was going, it was catching. Alright, so let's try and make sure it gets caught there. Okay, cool. Okay. So the one that's before the stitch marker is right here, so I'm going to lower this one here. Okay. And then basically it says, so lower the second last needle on the left side, which is right before the stitch marker. Stop the carrier at 6 o'clock. Okay, so let's do that. Make sure it catches. Okay, I'm going to stop it at 6 o'clock position. I'm going to remove the stitch markers placed at the beginning. Okay, so let's take this one off. All right, take this one off. Oop. Okay, good. There we go. Remove the stitch markers placed at the beginning and continue around after lowering all the needles. Okay, now when I lower all the needles, okay, and we're going to leave the heel spring on, we're leaving the heel forks and your weights for your heels in, because if you don't do that, you're going to get a whole bunch of drop stitches. You're going to be starting over. You're going to cry. I have done it. Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to put them all down, but when I put them down, they're going to have a tendency for the little arm to stick up. So I'm going to put them down just slightly elevated like what we did here so that it's most likely to catch that first time around, okay? So not all the way down, but pretty, you know, just a little bit higher than they normally would be. Again, make very sure that all your needle latches are open, because if they're not open, again, you're going to end up dropping a stitch. Done it many, many, many times. Okay, so I'm going to just lift it just slightly this first time around. Again, you may not have this issue. I've just found that it makes my life so much simpler to do this. So I'm doing it. Okay, and make very sure that all your, because I have a hard time seeing at the very back sometimes, and that causes me issues because that's usually where I'm going to have a drop stitch. It'll be there. Okay, so I'm going to go around. And then I'm going to continue as if it's a foot section. Okay, so basically, all right, check, make sure here everything is catching. Please catch. Please catch. That first circle is always the most frightening. Okay, so it looks like everything is good to go. Okay, so what's going to happen now is I'm going to do an extra chunk. Okay, then I'll put some waste yarn in, then we'll take it out and we'll take a look and see, like, you know, how good a job did I do, okay? In like that. All right, I'm going to hold on to all my weights because God knows that when this starts to let go, I did not do a hung hammer or anything like that, because what I'm going to do, because this is a sample, I'm going to literally unwind it afterwards and I'm going to put it back onto my actual cone, so I just can keep reusing the sample yarn over and over and over again, okay, until it's just not useful. But I'm going to hold these because these will drop really heavily, okay? There we go. Perfect. All right. Let's take a look here at what we got. Okay, let's take a look here. Obviously, you can still see my sock bonnet, my waist yarn, or whatever. I wanted to do it just for sizing, so I'm just going to put it on, pretend it's a heel. Okay? And you can't see a thing. Okay? Can you see better here? Yeah. Okay, so basically, it looks like, all right, now, I didn't put the tension so that it would be for this particular yarn. The tension that's actually set up on my machine is for the actual yarn I'm going to use for a sock. So this, you know, obviously if I let this sit, it would tighten up over a period of hours. If I washed it, it'll tighten up obviously some more. Okay, so the holes would be a lot smaller. But you're not seeing, you know, the big holes because I didn't drop any stitches along the way. That first little hole that you see when you start the heel, that's gone to by what we did by putting the yarn behind that first raised needle. Okay, so it looks good, and I could obviously continue on, doing the now again this is pretending that this is a heel. If I were to pretend it was a toe, okay, now it would be impossible to Kitchener stitch at this point, okay, but if it's a toe, right, it's a nice rounded looking toe, right? It's not the straight angle, like almost like a weird triangle or something like that. But what I would have done if that was the case is that instead of doing all this excess amount here, I would have only, as I said, I would have, if I was doing the toe, I would have placed at the time, before I started doing the toe, after I finished all the decreases and stuff, I would have placed like a stitch marker or a safety pin at the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock position, okay? And I would put it like through the 2 bars to make sure that, I know exactly where we're starting there. Because when I took this off, I'd know exactly where I'm starting the Kitchener stitch. Because if your Kitchener stitch is off by, is misaligned, you're gonna see that obviously in the seam. Okay. I would knit then 1 additional row for the toe. I would stop at 3 p.m. 1 needle passed. Okay, 3 p.m. so that my waist yarn would overlap with my regular yarn. I would do some waist yarn, so maybe like 4 to 5 inches of waist yarn, do my regular removing it, cut the waist yarn, remove my weights and crank off. Now, if you're doing a second sock, obviously you're not going to cut the waist yarn, you're just going to start into that second sock, okay? But if I was to do that, for example, then obviously in this toe here, I would start with doing the Kitchener stitch going across. Now, I did attempt a Kitchener stitch, so that video is not coming yet because it was an awful Kitchener stitch, okay? So I looked at some examples, tried to do it, and it came out terrible. And it should not come out terrible like that. So somebody else gave me some advice. I am going to actually practice that advice so that I can actually do a Kitchener stitch properly. And once I've got that down pat, I will make the next video for, because the toe is the exact same thing that we just did, except for the fact that you're going to just do 1 extra row after you've decreased, okay? After you put on your stitch markers as well, and then, do your waist yarn to cast off, and then to take a look at the Kitchener stitch to finish off your toe. Okay? So I hope that helps, and have yourself a great day.